Once upon a time, there was a girl. She woke up in a strange land where she was constantly being asked the question, "What are you?" This question put her on the outside. It made her have to start seeing things that others could ignore. In the media, history, everywhere. She could tell that there was more buried beneath the story she was being told. She sensed that the past was hanging on. So she decided to explore the untaught histories, how they affected the present, and what could be done to heal. She sensed there was something beyond the current perceptions, a new story waiting to be written, so we can end the separation myth. First, she traveled out into the Oregon community to hear the stories of what stands between us.
I feel almost like a little exotic. You know, and so when people see me, they're like, oh, and sometimes it's even like, oh, like, we're glad you're here, or oh, I just need to look at you a little more because I don't hardly see anyone like you.
When I first moved to Oregon, I took both of my children to the one and only mall in Medford. They both simultaneously pulled at me and said, "Mom, why do people look at us like that?"
You know, ask the director, like, you know, who is he? Well, that's just Brent. Or what is he? Well, he's an Indian. Oh, really? You know, he's an Indian guy. Inside, people were amazed that I could talk. You know, wow, he can talk, you know. He can speak, you know. It was really odd.
Like, it looks like me being asked, like, where are you from? No, like, where are you really from?
You always get the question of, like, when you're interacting or meeting other white folks for the first time, my first thing is, how are you going to perceive me? Are you okay with who I am before I step into this space? What kind of things do I need to make sure I don't say? How are you going to perceive the things that I do say?
So today we did a march for Operation Wake Up Ashland, which is a march really working to address the subtle racism that happens in our town, and sometimes not so subtle racism.
I don't blame my white friends for not knowing what I've been through, because, you know, if I were them and I've been treated nicely in shops or in other establishments, then that's the only experience I have. And so why would I question that anyone would treat anyone differently, right? Until someone shares a story. From its very underpinnings, you know, you could kind of understand why the state in some ways is the way that it is.
Oregon was 100% founded as a white utopia. Several state documents that really dictated that they wanted 0 people of color in this area.
The desire was to have Oregon be a white state.
It was later on a little bit of a shock to discover some of the things written into our Constitution for this particular state were really attempting to exclude people of color.
I said to myself, you know, it's just the history of so many other places, except less intentional in other places.
Ashland was a sundown town, and actually many towns in this state were sundown towns where there was an imposed curfew on people of color. And basically whatever happened to them after the curfew, like, sorry, like, you know what it is.
I went to the Historic Society and was extremely taken aback and shocked at the 4th of July parade in 1960. And I see a big group of people in white robe and pointy hats. And I said to myself, it could not be the Ku Klux Klan. That is not possible. This is 1960. But sure enough.
This land that we're on now belonged to the Shasta and Tacoma tribes. Like, they are the people that like lived here, took care of it, but they're not here anymore. They were relocated far, far up north to different reservations, split up from families and their bands and their people.
And it's kind of been our nature as a country. You know, our nature has been to go displace, replace.
Taking a look at the history of Native peoples is really not what happened, it's what's not being told of what happened. That there is no education about Native America.
What I also wanted to talk about was the whole Dead Indian Road thing. The part of the country that I grew up in, it would have been taken down immediately.
And then I think like the history of Mexicans in the state is very interesting because so many of the Mexican people who came here were in the agricultural business. I guess maybe the expectation was sort of this like here but not here, you know, present but not present, and impermanent. And I think that does something to like the ways that people treat you, because then maybe it's like, oh, you're here to stay.
Jacksonville used to be Chinatown. I was really shocked. They said at one time there were about 600 Chinese. In Jacksonville, there's not one trace of Chinese history. It was so wiped out because they were chased out. And in Hell's Canyon, they found a mass grave of over 30 Chinese being massacred.
If you don't believe that your history, history holds on for quite a while. It's not just forgotten. Oh, there's black people in Oregon now. We can drop this. We'll never hear about it again. You know, the Native Americans, they're doing well. We can drop this. I mean, we don't ever have to hear about what we did to persecute them again. So yeah, Oregon's history, it flares up. It flares up, and it's still present.
You gotta let us take it. You can't tell somebody else what I need. That's something that I need to do for myself. And while it's very appreciated, I need you to listen to what I have to say. Because if you're gonna advocate, you gotta know what to do. POC as a community, we need to let you know what we need. So just don't like step in and think that you can like clean up this mess. Like, we're gonna tell you how to clean it first.
I think there is great healing in being heard. Listening is key to that, and like an incredible show of respect. Right?
And then when someone shares a story, then those individuals can now go, oh, wait. So maybe my experience is not the only experience one can have. The sharing of the story might now make people more observant, right? Because now all of a sudden, you're like becoming aware.
And I want to take that passion that this town displays for like overtly not wanting to be called racist to actually not being racist.
A whole lot of people who are willing to be with their own stuff, because that's what it brings up when we really let someone's story in. It brings up our story, and that's another part of the fear that I think has been blocking us, and that I think we're ready now to move through.
And then we can create this movement from every direction that recognizes and values diversity, that recognizes and values equity. So we can move past this culture that says that I didn't do it, I wasn't even present. So, but it's gonna take that bigger conversation. It's gonna take people really being moved for that to happen.
You know, and here's my little boy, and here's the kids they've been playing with all their life. And they go to grade school, then they go to junior high, then they go to high school, then they go to college, then they get into this society, and they don't know who my little boy is anymore. And he's not recognized as a human being anymore.
I've heard people say that we can, we celebrate our differences, which I think is awesome, but we should celebrate our similarities as well. We should celebrate them, because those are the pieces that really get us at the table.
And because I'm speaking for the people, you know, all people. I want my son and these other people to grow up like this and still be there when they get old. It's really a great analogy. Not this, but this.